It's funny that we're all working so hard making a living, yet we're so busy making a living, we don't have time for living. That really makes me think, what is money? What does it mean to us? And what is the point of accumulating money if we don't know how to manage to enjoy it? We've come to a point where more equals better, more money that you can spend, more happiness you can gain. You want to get around the city fast, get a car. You don't feel like vacuuming the floor after a long day at work, get a vacuum cleaner. It doesn't clean close enough. You could always hire a few people to clean your entire house. That's great. That's convenient. That's something that we need because we're so busy working hard to earn money. We don't have time to do it ourselves, but we can pay for it. I guess you get my point. No matter what kind of problems you have in your life, big or small, as long as you have money, you could always pay for those problems to go away without you even lifting a finger. But the problem is, money does not grow on trees. Money does not come for free. Somebody has to work extremely hard to earn it, and that somebody can only be you. And because the majority of us are working for a salary, that basically means we're exchanging time for money. So we have to work longer and longer hours in order to get that salary, that money, to pay for those possessions and services that we want to get. If our only source of income is that job, that pushes us into a very vulnerable position where we simply cannot lose that job. Because if we lose it, we lose our source of success and happiness. We lose pretty much everything. We cannot solve problems anymore because problem solving is based on having sufficient amount of money. And the situation only becomes worse when that comes into place. Say if we mortgage the house and the only means of repayment is through that job. If the mortgage is 30 years, that also means we have to work for at least 30 years to pay it off. Now, all of a sudden, a simple decision after leaving school becomes a commitment that we cannot escape. Well, for some people, they probably say, my earning ability is extremely high, my salary is extremely high, I'll probably pay it off in a couple of years. Well, good job on you, but very likely you probably ended up like wanting better houses, nicer cars, just to keep up with the Jones because everybody else also have it and you want to have it too. So no matter how much money you earn, your expense will always match your income. And that's called lifestyle inflation, or in other words, keeping up with the Jones or participating in the rat race. We all participate in the rat race unconsciously. I remember that when I first moved out my college studio into an apartment with a friend, my desire of filling all the rooms with furniture ran high, so high that we ended up going to IKEA 4 times in a single month, buying, regardless of the fact that we'd only be there for a year. So I bought a lot of stuff that I didn't really need. But it seems like there's a taboo against the empty room, so I don't really know. But I find that to be true to a lot of people. It seems like we don't really understand the quest of bringing more possessions through the front door is a chronic disease. The shortage of space is only a symptom, not an underlying problem. The underlying problem is really our desire to want more and more and never feel satisfied, resulting in us having to work longer and longer hours to earn the money to fund our buying habit. The situation only gets worse and worse when we involve financing. It seems like people don't really understand how finance works. In business, people use financing as a leverage. By borrowing money, they can invest their money in projects that can potentially generate future income. But when it comes to individual financing, people, consumers, rarely use it as a way to generate the income, but solely, almost solely, as a way to purchase consumables, houses, cars, the latest iPhone. None of them generate the income, but only depreciate the moment you pay for it. So now, financing is no longer a way to generate future revenue, but serves as a financial burden that we have to bear in order to live beyond our means. Well, the solution to those problems is simple on paper: consume less. Well, perhaps not consume less, but become more cautious about our consumption. Instead of having to work longer hours to earn money to acquire those possessions, we could possibly reduce those superficial needs so that we don't have to work that longer hours. If we're able to keep up the hours that we work, we now have extra money we can invest in projects that can potentially generate future income. Well, you'll probably say those are all necessities. I need to have them. If I don't have them, my lifestyle will be degraded so much, which I cannot see it happening. To that, I would say give it a second thought. A lot of things that we believe are things that we need are actually just things we want. We've been tricked into wanting more and more without really thinking about it. Needs and wants, they are not different in kind. They're only different in degree. So give it a second thought. And also think about, is it really impossible to live a life without spending too much money? Are there any other ways that you can potentially brighten your life up a little bit? I certainly think there are, but only you know your answer. So that's about to consume less, but we also need to think about how can we produce more so we can have more. Well, that sounds contradictory, I know, but don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about having more material stuff. I'm talking about freedom, control over time, with which we can decide when, where, with whom to do what. Autonomy, in other words. I think we're all pursuing different things in our life, but there's one thing that we can all agree on, we all want, is freedom. It's the ability to schedule our own day without listening to anybody else. That's something that we all want. But that can only happen by developing a healthy relationship with money. What is money? What does money mean to you? Well, we'll talk more about that in the forthcoming videos, so stay tuned. My name's Kevin. Thanks very much for your time, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.